Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Region Buzz's Freakin' Friday Music. My name's Nicholas Kazonis. You can check me out at Nicholas Kazonis Music. I'm also the owner here at Region Buzz. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We do have Rich from Region Media Network, who's going to also be interviewing, and also Region Radio as well.
Yep.
Which, are those all one entity?
Region Radio is actually under the Region Media.
Oh, okay. It's under the Region.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Cool. So make sure you guys check that out. They did a wonderful music awards for 2020 to kind of help local music out and gain some recognition. But without further ado, we have our wonderful Frank Ruvoli here today, everybody. We're going to be just sitting around. These sessions are really just to sit on the couch, capture some cool moments that are going to be doing 3 live tunes, but just actually really going into each song and diving into the songwriting process, where he recorded it, what inspired it, who Frank is, what are some other people that he plays with, and that sort of thing. And yeah, so go ahead and say some stuff, Frank.
It's Freakin' Friday Music with Freakin' Frank.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
That's why you did it.
We got a new hashtag for
Yeah.
this.
Freakin' Frank.
Freakin' Frank.
So yeah, man, I mean, thanks for having me, Rich. Great to see you as always. I'm excited to do the
too.
show. This is a great idea, by the way. I love that, especially you guys working together on this. That's awesome. In terms of the tunes that we're going to be doing, they're songs I've been playing for a long time. A couple of them, you can actually probably find them all on YouTube in like a live setting, or I know one of the ones that, actually 2 of them, they are acoustically, like from my bedroom or something, but never recorded with a band, which hopefully these will be coming up soon eventually. But yeah, I'm excited to play them with you, man. They're good tunes.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of go into them first. So tell us a little bit about, you said that you like play some of these live, and you have a partner, which you did here for your DVD and live album from here in the studio, and we were really grateful to be part of that project.
Yeah, you guys did a great
so you
job.
could talk a little bit about that and talk about Brian Mundy. Who's Brian Mundy?
Yeah, so Brian's a good friend of ours, and I've been playing with him since I started. He and I actually have. It's interesting because he was good friend, or is good friends with my brother-in-law, and they used to work together at some point. And when I came back from school in college and I was playing guitar, my brother-in-law Pete said, "Hey, you got to meet my friend Brian. You guys would play together. You guys like the same music, so it'd be a good time." So I'm like, yeah, Brian, because you know how it is. Everybody's like, "Oh my,
you got to meet my fourth cousin removed."
yeah,
who
he plays
banjo.
guitar. You guys should jam, So you're always like, "Oh, well, what's that mean?" And so luckily, we have such a vibrant open mic scene around here, and which is a huge deal for me. Meeting you, meeting Brian, and a lot of the musician friends that we have, and even just coming up with jam partners and stuff like that. Open mic scene's great, so I definitely recommend any new artists or even veteran artists keep going out to the open mics. But anyway, so I ran into him at J.J. Kelly's open mic, and he played before I did, and they said his name, and I said, wait a minute. I went up to him after he was done, and I said, "Are you Brian that knows Pete?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, whatever." I'm like, "Oh, we're supposed to play together, so let's try it tonight." And then he went up on the set with me for the open mic, and we played some Dave Matthews, which I like to play, and he knew all the songs, and we just vibed really well. So we've been playing together for, I think, already 7 years.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, and then in terms of the EP that we did, it's just called Frank Ruvoli and Brian Mundy, live acoustic sessions from RegionBuzz219. Nick over there, he worked on it with us, and him and I we did almost like a live setting because him and I really play well in the moment together, so we wanted to do that with you, and it turned out really well. So you can find that on Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. I have physical copies too, a few of them, just for people who like CDs. Got T-shirts too if you want to have Mundy and I on your chest.
Oh, I want Mundy and I on my chest.
I'll get you one.
Yeah.
I'll be over here.
Yeah. So
That'd be fun.
But yeah, it's good, and Mundy and I vibe well together, and just like you and I, we vibe well together. So. It's just super cool. We're in a really good area. I always say we're in the shadow of the city.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like people are starting to come back this way, because the music scene is a lot more vibrant than it is. Not to say that the city music scene isn't vibrant, but it's, and I think you can attest because we both played down there and both tried to get other stuff down there. It's very controlled. There's not a lot of places to go.
It's very cliquish, and one thing I will say about the Northwest Indiana region, right? Region, is people tend to be more open-armed over here. it's not really too much like it was in the early 90s, you know, when I was like first kind of getting into the music scene, where it was very cliquish and it was very like, well, if you don't play this, then, you know, we don't vibe with you, sort of thing. And what I would like to think is, yeah, there are instances around here where there's some, you know, cliquey type of people, but that's anywhere, you know. But it's definitely far more open-armed than and I've traveled all over the Midwest, you know, and far more open-armed than a lot of places that I've been to. I was in Toledo, Ohio, and doing some runs out there, and I had a couple people who were really, really like interested in what I was doing and like were really cool and talking to me and that stuff. But then there was a couple musicians that like were coming to scope out who's the out of town guy here at our venue, sort of thing. Kind of getting a little weirded out about that. So it was pretty cool to like be able to see that, you know, and experience it. Especially like you're saying, Chicago's not as open armed. So I think like you're right. A lot of people are starting to come back around to Northwest Indiana. You know? It used to be back in the 60s and the 70s, you had Gary, where, you know, Buddy Guy was cutting his teeth, and all these guys that are huge, you know, huge names now, were coming down to Gary and doing all those with all the old theaters. And we don't have that necessarily as strong anymore, but we do have a pretty vibrant scene. And that's what this whole episode is about, is kind of like just getting people to understand who's here, who they are from their songwriting perspective, because there's not a whole lot of people that are really getting to see that.
Yeah,
you know?
And I want to say, too, just to clarify, I think the suburbs of Chicago does a really good job, because we play a lot around the suburbs. Yeah. You do, Brian and I do. So we're talking more downtown, where you try to get those clubs that are, you know, big names, so you can say you played there. Man, is it hard to get in there.
Yeah.
And now, you know, and it's tough. But, and you know, it's cool. You kind of mentioned that with you coined the phrase, and I use it from you, the music family in the region, which it really is. And you say everybody's here with open arms. It's huge. I mean, even with stuff like what you guys do with the radio, it's huge. And when I started, I think you and I had this conversation, and that's where I got music family from you, is we have seen over the years that you've been playing longer than I have, but over the years that you and I have connected and tried to grow our careers, I always said, if there's so much talent where we're at here in Northwest Indiana, and there's so much potential, that if we can just grow an ecosystem in terms of artists, venues, open mics, radio stations, labels, marketing help, even if it's not a label, marketing help, like you do, like I tried to do with other people. Man, and then it all takes is one person, and then it's like, oh, it's the greatest thing. Yeah, you know, even if it's not you or me. We've said that before.
Yeah,
I don't
want to have to do everything.
Right.
You know,
well, I was surprised when I started putting together the award show and everything over the last couple of years of Region Radio and now Region Media. I was surprised at how welcoming everybody was. You know, me being kind of new on the scene, I was surprised at how welcoming everybody was, and the amount of talent in the area has been amazing. Yeah. And even the award show, the eclectic nature of everything, everybody seems to still be that family, like you say. It's amazing to see the blues and the jazz artists that are like, oh, if you heard Nick or Frank, or you know, it's been amazing. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, another friend of ours, Nate Venturelli, you know, he's all country. No. And then him and I we've done every once in a while some shows together, and we played down at a Cedar Lake, Bugaboos, and man, the place was packed. And it's so cool because neither one of us are lead guitarists, so we literally just switch off songs. Yeah. And it's funny how he plays country, place goes nuts. Then I play something classic rock, alternative, or pop, even a rap song. You know how I get. Yeah. And place erupts. You know what I mean? So it's just so cool how you're not going to get a country guy, an alternative, whatever, classic rock cover guy going together in a show and splitting it, but it just works around here, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So I'd like to maybe get into some of the info behind this first song that we're going to play. Which one do you want to do first?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do Let It Go.
Let It Go. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I think the first time we ever spoke about like our originals, I was like, yeah, I got the song Let It Go. And you're like, I got to Let It Go.
Yeah.
But at the same
Who
time,
doesn't?
yeah. And at the same time, there was that Disney movie.
Frozen.
Frozen, yeah.
I was going to ask, Dina Menzel, are we,
Yeah,
we're going
no.
down that road?
So, but at any
Wish I
rate,
had her voice though.
what are some of the what's some of the inspiration behind it? What is the message that you're trying to portray to people and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so this is a cool song because I went to Wabash College, which I love. Wabash always fights. Loved going to college there. I was a philosophy major. I originally wanted to be a lawyer. So I started in political science. They said, the idea that I heard from people said, do poli-sci, then you go to law school. Well, I did awful in political science. And it's not because I'm not good with, knowing current that stuff. It's just I just wasn't grasping the classes probably. I was probably taking the wrong classes too soon or something like that. But took a philosophy class and I loved it. And then I'm like, hey, I kind of want to go the philosophy route. And then I ended up finding out that a lot of graduates from Wabash were philosophy majors because they said, hey, they teach you the Socratic method. That's exactly what you're going to be using in law school. So there's no reason why you shouldn't do it if you're interested in it. So obviously I didn't become a lawyer, but I was a philosophy major to and through over there, and I loved every minute of it and the way it taught you to think. So how it relates to this song is there was one of my senior classes. There was a philosopher, and I always mix them up. I was not good at remembering their names, but it's either Epictetus or Epicurus. One
They're
of the
just
two.
a bunch of Greek guys.
Right, yeah.
I'm Greek for those that don't know.
Which is why all your songs are philosophical.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Makes sense. There you go.
But the whole point of his whole philosophy on life was you shouldn't put too much pride or too much stake into things. Now he gets a little crazy. Like obviously he even says in the sense of like your loved ones, like if something happens and they leave you, it shouldn't bother you. It's your all you got to do is worry about you. Mm-hmm. Which to me, I think you got to care about other people and especially your loved ones. But he was a little extreme on that sense, but his main idea was like if somebody steals your wallet, forget about it. It's your wallet. You shouldn't care about it. It's your money. Who cares? You shouldn't care about it. Care about it. Just make sure you're alive. That's all. Really. And if you're good at philosophy and you know more about him, I'm probably not saying it completely right, but I know his whole thing was just forget about everything, worry about being alive, right? So then my whole thing was after we did a couple of readings of that in the class and discussion, my thing was let it go. Like. And in terms of this song, it's more or less let it go of people's opinions, people's hatred upon you. And it was really the time where my senior year of college, I'm trying to figure out, okay, I've been playing music now for a couple years. I just started playing guitar. I've already been writing songs for about 2 years. I really love doing this. I'm drawn to it. I started contacting people that were doing music, that I was hearing about. And it's like, oh man, and of course you can attest, everybody say, why are you going to be a musician? You ain't going to make money in that. You make a living in that, So
I just want you to be okay.
Yeah.
That's what I would always hear from people. I just want you to be okay. Well, I'm going to be okay because I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
I'll figure the rest of it out. Like, give me some credit. I'm not a complete savant.
Right. And we talk about too. Once you figure out the business side, that's the whole point. Your creative side and your business side. But that's another conversation. But yeah, it was, I was probably, that would have been 2013. So I'm in between either 22 and 23 at that point. I would have been 22 because I would have turned 23 after I graduated. So I'm 22, got the whole world ahead of me. I'm graduating college, don't have a job yet. I was applying to places like Apple and stuff, but I never got that. But, kind of just trying to figure it all out. And, the whole thing was this song was kind of like, yeah, I'm going to take that guy's philosophy and just when it comes to people's opinions, just let it go. You don't matter to me. I'm here. You know what I mean? Your opinions don't matter to me. So, throughout the song, it's basically like that. It starts off with what you got, let it go, and then there's lines in there like, don't let people walk all over you. It's your life. It was made for you, things like that. So it's really just kind of a lot of the songs, and I'm sure you probably attest to this too, is they fit to everybody, but it's almost like sometimes you write songs to convince yourself you're doing the right thing.
There's absolutely, I was just talking about this with Jordan on last episode, and I was saying that there's certain songs that you try to force and you try to force, and then it takes them a long time. Like one of my songs, Black Cloud, took me 3 years to write, to finish. You know, I had the first 2 verses, but I had to learn something in life in order to write the third.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. And then I went in the studio and recorded it in 5 minutes, and it was done. And I was like, holy crap. That song was like over my head. It was a black cloud forever,
Right.
but now I understood what it was meant to be. But I learned this from Nick Tremulis at Columbia College in my songwriting, one of my songwriting courses. He was there as a long-term substitute for Gary Yerkins because Gary had a surgery or something going on. And Nick sat down, and the very first thing he said to us was, some songs are just going to be absolutely gifted to you, and what you have to realize is they're just a gift, and you have to just accept them. And it always reminded me, what you just said reminded me of that, because it's like, not only is it a gift for everybody else, but sometimes when you write something and that energy flows through you and the universe provides that song to you, it is absolutely 100% for you to learn something too.
Right.
So.
Right.
How long did it take you to write that one?
It's a good question. That, I feel like, if I remember correctly, I probably, after that class, was on a kind of like a creative high in my mind. I'm pretty sure that when I went back to my fraternity, probably ended up cracking a beer and just wrote it that night, to be honest with you. Because then if you take it away from the lyrics, like one of the things that I like to do is when I was learning guitar, especially, because it's like, oh, what's going on around here? But even once in a while, you'll hit something that you're like, oh, that's cool. So like, we ran through this at the beginning. You saw the chorus of this goes, right? Well, for some reason, when I started playing guitar, and I'd probably be my senior year, probably only 3 years in, for some reason, me figuring this out, and I already knew, just the way that I was able to use this in songs, I just loved it. So that I get like things that I end up putting together. Like I probably was playing with an A, and then I'm like, oh, if I go here, that's what the F. You're the professional. We already talked about that.
That's
D,
A chord with an F sharp in the
whatever.
bass. Yeah, so
Yeah,
those
see,
are
he
called
knows.
like inversion chords or slash chords, depending
Right.
on.
And so I was able to go from A there, G, and I was able to something cool right without even moving, and then
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So the funny thing is that when I come up with something that I like, I try to put it in as many songs as possible. Sorry. What a spoiler alert. So if you recognize this from this song, it's also
Yeah.
Shoe Corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was like, he's playing Shoe Corner.
I was
like, oh, no,
thinking the
he's not
same
playing
thing.
Shoe
I
Corner.
was like, hey.
Yeah.
Right. So when I hear something that I like, I try to use it in different ways. Obviously not to copy a different song and make it, do a same song sound with a different lyrics to it. But there's other things that I use the same idea with that I can't think of right now. But I know I use that in different ways too.
Well, as a question to kind of both of you here, when you're writing songs, do the falling in love with a certain chord happen? I mean, did you have specific chords that you like fall in love with and you kind of find yourself going back to?
Yes and no. I'm very meticulous in how I do everything, and sometimes I'm conscious of a certain technique and sometimes I'm not. But one thing that I definitely do tend to do is, if I know that the melody is going to have like a like a high falsetto head voice kind of thing, I'm like, okay, it's got to be in this key. Mm-hmm. And so I figure out the keys. But then if it's going to be like a, kind of thing, like
My mama told me.
a big growl or something like that, I know I need to be in another register. So it's in a sense, it's not necessarily like specific chords, but it is definitely specific keys for certain techniques and tasks. It's kind of knowing your own anatomic body and being able to apply to that.
Again, the professional.
Yeah. Yeah, not for me. I just come up with something I like and I try to fit it. So like, and for example, when I wrote Shoe Corner, I already had this. I was already playing at home this. I'm like, I want to find a song to this. And then I was sitting in traffic. Then I had to get to Shoe Corner, where it was used to just be a stop sign where rush hour traffic was backed up all the way to Exchange.
Yeah.
And I would sit there, and then I'm like, you know what? I was literally so mad in my car, and I said, just take me down to Shoe Corner. I'm like, wait a minute. Take me down to Shoe Corner. where dreams were. It was like that. And I was like, oh my God. I kept repeating that until I got home. And then I'm like, I know exactly what I'm putting that to. So
that goes back to a question I've had when I've had you on before. That goes back to a question. So you kind of go both ways. You come up with words first and then melody, or vice versa.
Right.
That's kind of cool. It's a cool thing to see the process.
yeah.
Well, let's play it. Let's do let's do Let It Go.
All right. All right.
Yeah, what you got, well, let it go. Cause you can't control the world around you, or its people, yeah, beauty is in the eyes of those who bold it. So don't tell me what I know. I could judge you, and you can judge me, but opinions get us nowhere, so I don't really care what you say. Cause all I want to do is focus on my mind and on what I'm gonna do. You gotta let it go. Your desire to control everything you know. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. And go on. Cause possessions won't make you whole. No, no, let it go. Yeah, you worry about what people think, but understand their mind isn't in your hands to shape if they like, if they hate. Well, it don't really matter, no, cause it won't change your fate. Just carry on and focus on you, cause it's your life and babe, this one was made for you. You gotta let it go. Your desire to control everything you know. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. Everything you want. Cause possessions won't make you whole. No, no, let it go. Gotta figure this out, no. When push comes to shove, don't let people walk all over you. Yeah, it's your life and babe, this one was made for you. Oh yeah. You gotta let it go. Your desire to control everything you know. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. Everything you want. Cause possessions won't make you whole. No, no, let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
There's a line in there that was talking to me, Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
It was
noticed
called "Let It Go." No, I'm just.
I was gonna ask, with today's, with the way society is for over this last year, how many times you? I mean, it's a really appropriate song for right now. But how many times you pull that out just to remind yourself, just to use it kind of as therapy?
You know what? I love that song, so I think I play it all the time.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, and I think it actually relates not only to now, but I mean, anywhere you go, you're going to get problems, whether it be, worldwide, nationwide, or even in your daily life. I mean, it's really hard to come across somebody who's not going to be giving somebody problems. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And that's what I love about doing live, because I don't know if, but in that first chorus, I ended up choking a little bit, and I missed a couple words. So, God, I love it live.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert again, I'll probably forget and change the words to other songs that we play today. So, that's how I roll.
That's part of the Ruvoli way.
It is. Mundy makes fun of me because I'll forget the words, and he's like, "Dude, you wrote the song." He'll be like, "I can't believe you never remember." Whatever.
The problem with me is I have well, you may have the same thing. Like, I have so many songs that are not released or not fully written.
Yep.
And then you take them out and you try to work them, and then you tend to let the song almost blossom into what it is sometimes. And I just struggle sometimes with memorizing some of the newer stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what was that third verse? What did that start with? And then I'll look down at my sheet. Oh, yeah, it's this. And then I can do the whole thing. But I always have to have a reminder on some of those newer tunes to remind me what that's going to, what that song's
I forget words all the time.
Yeah.
I try to remember a song like that. That's, like I said, I really love it. And it speaks to me back from, we were talking earlier about looking at old YouTubes. It's like that speaks to me, you know what I mean? Because I remember where I was when I was watching that video of myself 8 years ago, you know what I mean? Chase the Lights, that's a story to me. And that also was out of me like that, you know what I mean, when I wrote that, because that was also another situation probably years later where they're like, give it up, get something, it's like, that's not what I want to do, and I'm going to chase the lights. And I mean, you guys both know that song. It's all about, if you're not with me, you're against me, and that's cool, but you're going to be left behind. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then one of the other songs we'll play today, the only way I remember is I try to remember the story. When it was it's going to be a story song, but it's like I try to remember the story or I'll mess it up.
That's very Dylan of you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Now, how often do you find, because we talked a little bit ago about either finding the melody first or the words. How often do you write something words wise and then go back to a melody that you thought that you had in store for something else and switch it?
In my case, I do more music than I do lyrics first. I like to find the music.
Okay.
And the music is what speaks to me to say, okay, this is the type of song I'm going to write for this, or this reminds me of A, B, C, or D, and that's going to go perfect with how this sounds. So my old song "Sweet Water" that I think you both know, right? Right?
Yep.
That's a song about a cool place, lake house, where you go and just have fun for the weekend.
Where may they find that song? Just to give you a.
That is also on Spotify.
All right, shameless promotion there. Sorry.
So I love that song, and that song just reminds me of summer fun with friends and stuff like that. I tried to write a song about water and a lake house 3-4 times, and it never happened. I actually have another song that I haven't released, but I love it, but it's kind of out of my range, so I really have to be on a good day in order to sing it. But it's a little slower, and it's like a love, let's go to the lake and we can rekindle our love and friendship. I love the song, and I love playing it when I'm in my room and no one's around. But then one day, I'm sitting here, literally one day I'm here. I'm like, wait a minute. All right, now I'm going to tell the story about going to Lake House. This is what it feels. You know what I mean? That's what, except for the last note. But that's what it feels like. You know what I mean? You could just feel it in certain situations. So, cool. I'm more of a music guy. I have notebooks when I was more trying to, and I should get back into this. I was trying to what they call brain dump. And you mentioned your songwriting class at Columbia. I never got a songwriting class because I was never, I didn't. It was a little too late for me to do music classes or something like that because I didn't figure it out.
It's never too late, Frankie.
Well, what I was going to get,
I know what you're saying.
What I was going to get at is you went through you were working on that in college. I was just going to give a plug of 2 songwriting books I read by the same guy. His name's Pat Pattison. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he used to be he was a philosophy teacher or professor at Notre Dame or something, but then he went to Berkeley and did songwriting, and actually John Mayer took his class.
Okay.
And he's probably got more books now, but when I was first starting, he only had the 2 out, and I downloaded them both on my iPad, and they're great.
Is it like a blue book from Berkeley Press?
Blue, and he's got an orange one too, and I forget what they're called.
The blue one I have, and I still work with my students. I didn't realize that was his name, though.
It's great.
It's
great.
He's got
a lot of great.
And what I love about that book in particular is that there's for any aspiring songwriters, it's a good book to pick up, right?
Yeah.
You can get it on Amazon or try to get over to Dynamite Music in Broad Street in Griffith, and I know that Broadway Music in Maryville also carries educational books, so you can even get them locally if you ask them. They might be able to order it for you. But essentially, Berkeley Press, and what's the name of the
author's Pat Pattison,
Pat Pattison,
I
okay.
believe.
Yeah,
I believe, because it reminded me of the old Mad TV guy. I believe it's Pat, but his last name's Pattison. I know that.
Yeah, okay. So we use those at a collegiate level, and for me, what I remember from the book, if it's the same book, is it talks about like lyrical form and the rhythmic, how you can like change the rhythm, and it's literally just talking about music, but talking about music in a way that's just based on pure language.
Yeah.
So it's almost like taking poetry and learning some of those concepts, and then. Like one of the songs that I wrote in school was called Honey Lips. Mm-hmm. And it was like, like there was a specific phrase as to what honey lips would be. It's like a sweet kiss, but not without saying it's a sweet kiss.
Right.
So there's that kind of thing.
Right. So for me, when I started writing songs, I maybe had 1 or 2 good ones that I still use today. Like What You Got was one of my early ones that I was just writing. But man, there's a lot of crap in there that I don't even have anymore. But you write it, and then you sit it down for a day. You come back to it. You're like, this does not work at all. So the structure. Even the structure. He talks about. First of all, when you're trying to formulate ideas, like you have I think it was a 2-minute clock, and anything you think of, and I still use that to this day. Like if I have an idea in my head, I want to write a song about coffee. All right. You got 2 minutes, put 2 minutes on the clock, and you write every word that comes to your head about coffee.
Yep.
And that helps formulate ideas. Then you formulate those into sentences. And one thing I remember, because I always felt like some of my early stuff, I was putting good words, like good lines out there, but there was it didn't, how can I make this song make sense? You know what I mean? So then, you talk about the language structure. I just remember I have this picture right in my head on one of the chapters. It literally has it looks like a cake. There's the big box at the bottom, the middle box, and then the tiny box. And he goes, this is how you're going to build your song into a story. It's give them a taste, tell more about what's going on, and then either do the bridge or whatever, change it completely. Just what you were kind of saying, it makes it so easy to understand and then to write good music.
It's a formulaic way, and some people are, I think a lot of artists tend to think like, well, it needs to happen. I need to vibe with it, and it needs to be 100%. But really, our brains are just computing information that is creative, right? Or we're just, I hate to say it, but sometimes we're just regurgitating information too,
Right.
And we're just experiencing things in life, and I think that it's important for us to like realize that, you know. Well, at any rate, let's go ahead and get into the next tune.
Cool. All right. The song's called Come On, as we talked about. Here we go.
Yeah, come on and follow me. Come and take your seat underneath my high loving wings. I say, come on, let's get away. Let's make some space between us and this dying place. I say, come on, just grab your things. There ain't no time to think, cause if you wait, forever stuck you will be. Oh yeah, oh, you got to get out when the time is right. The time is now. Oh, don't you cry, I promise the sun will rise. Just close your eyes, take my hand, it'll be just fine. Oh yeah, we're gonna be just fine. let's make some space from all the ones in doubt, 'cause they will never let us be. I said, come on, now it's your choice. You gotta keep your voice, 'cause I never said it it'd be easy. Oh yeah, come on. See, I don't like to lose, so I'll make do and I'll tread this water carefully. Oh yeah, oh you got to get out when the time is right. The time is now. Oh, don't you cry. I promise the sun will rise. Just close your eyes, take my hand, it'll be just fine. Oh yeah, we're gonna be just fine. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Yeah, everything's gonna be just fine. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just fine, you and I together tonight. Time is now. Oh, don't you cry. I promise the sun will rise. Just close your eyes, take my hand, it'll be just fine. Oh yeah, we're gonna be just fine.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thanks.
Question for you. We talked about a little bit about the open mic feel here, where you two were just kind of sitting here jamming with each other. Is that where you developed your voice and your sound, the sound of your voice? Because you kind of have that trademark syncopated thing in a lot of your songs, where you kind of hit those quick notes. Is that where it developed from?
Maybe. I don't know. Thanks for noticing that.
I know. I've noticed it in quite a few of your songs. You have a certain part of your song where you kind of hit real quick notes, one right after another, with your voice. It's a really cool sound.
Thanks.
And that's why I was just wondering if that's where it developed from, is over the years of playing the open mics. And
definitely could be, just looking for the eyes. And
Who's some of your musical inspirations? And
my
kind of
inspirations. It's Nick Kazonis.
Well, then get over to Spotify and download all his music.
You sure you want to tell me to let it go now, sir? No, I'm just kidding.
And if you head on down to RegionBuzz219, you can learn yourself.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. No, but you know what? That is a good point, because I'm inspired by you, seriously, and
I appreciate that.
You know, a lot of our music friends around here, and my mainstream idols that you guys are going to know first, I was a big fan of Chris Daughtry when he was on American Idol. And when I first started playing guitar, I learned basically all his songs. Then to go off that, then I became a big Dave Matthews fan. So I knew all of Daughtry songs basically like I know all of Dave's songs now. Really, it's just different. I was, working on Daughtry when I was learning guitar. A lot of his songs are pretty similar. Different, he's more of a rock, so they keep it simple and then do a lot of loud drumming, cool bass, and then obviously the driving electric guitars.
Yeah.
And he's really hard to try to sing like because he's got a great voice.
Yeah.
And then when I was playing, I was asked to learn a Dave Matthews song, and I'm like, yeah, my sister used to listen to him all the time when I was a kid. How hard can it be? I'm like, let's see, I can learn Crash or I'll learn Satellite. It's got to be easy. I mean, I already know. I've already been looking up songs on YouTube all this whole time I've been learning, and they're all right here, right? Well, come to find out, Dave is a completely different animal. So when I learned that about him, that opened up my eyes completely to him, and I became a huge fan of his. And that actually going to find out how to play one song of his led me down the rabbit hole of learning all of his songs. I know most of them, I guess. And he is just up and down the fretboard, and it taught me so many new chords and really how to entertain as an acoustic guitarist, because I think you can attest the same way I can. And this goes back to going to open mics. And no offense to anybody, this is just kind of what I realized, because I didn't think I was the best singer in the room, and there would be that guy or that girl who just had a beautiful voice, but everything was in that same slow key with the same chords, and everybody would be like, oh, beautiful voice. I'd be like, I don't even know if I want to go up there anymore. But it would be the same. But you get your 3-4 songs at some of the open mics, and it was like song 1 dropped everybody on the floor. Song 2, all right, yeah, same tempo, and okay. Then all right, song 3, kind of people stopped listening because it's like, yeah, we heard you first time, you're good.
Yeah.
So then I learned, all right, well, I took a page out of Dave's book. I'm like, I don't think I sound that good, but let's see if I can entertain people. And then I would be like, doing this, and I would watch people, and they'd be looking at my hand, and I'd be like, oh, I don't think I hit that note, but I'd still just keep jamming, And then also how I'm very up tempo with a lot of my songs. I learned that from open mic too, because they wanted to sound so good, they forgot about all the other entertainment aspects of knowing your instrument, kind of entertaining there too. Like you do really good with your leads. I'm always awed. Monday too, I watch you guys do stuff. You're in a chord, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, and it's still the same tempo. I can't do that. So for me, it was like, okay, well, if I want to play a C, let me do a C down here. It's an easy C bar, but somebody that doesn't know, they're gonna be like, oh, what did he just do there? You know what I mean?
It gives it a different contrast. It's something we learned in composition school about texturalness. Like finding what's the right texture for whether it be the EQ or whether it be the vibe of, like, well, that would sound really cool. It doesn't sound good on an electric guitar, but maybe we can add a flute there. That's like. It's like, and that goes into textural and timbre. Those are two things that there's 9 different points in which we analyze compositions in school. But yeah, so Dave, that's pretty cool. Anybody else?
I mean, you go back to songwriting, then it would be Neil Young, Bob Dylan. Once I started writing songs, Tom Petty. I'm like, how did these guys write so many great songs? And I mean, you start studying them. I mean, you can find some similarities and start figuring it out. But
yeah.
Hey, I mean, you'll never figure out how good they are, but you see a lot of similarities of how to do it. And one of the things that I've noticed, and I think you and I've talked about this before, but and this might even go back to that book we were talking about earlier, but I don't know if it was in there. But it's figures of speech, ways of language, the way we talk. Yep. Sometimes you try to get too poetic with a song, and it's like it doesn't resonate with, like, I may say it, and somebody may be like, oh, that's the most beautiful way you've ever said that. But in order to say, like, just when you're in lines, I can't think of an example, but, the figure of speech. So when I would hear somebody say, like, oh,
fork in the road is one.
Yes, that
is one that I always hear people use as like an example to explain to people. Like I have a cousin who's from France, and she was like, "Oh, what are some of the phrases that I should understand that people might use?" And I was like, "Fork in the road," or there's just like my sister and I were just going through, we were having lunch with her and just talking about all the different ones. But that's kind of, I think, what you're referring to,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes, and by noticing that, Tom Petty does it a lot too. He's got that, learning to take everyday speech and put it to rhythm. Because what we're doing right now, just by talking, we're playing music, we're singing to each other. But people don't look at it that way. They just look at it as speech. But then when you can figure that out and take figures of speech, take phrases, like even what do they call it? Old wives' tales or whatever, a couple lines. I love taking when I hear somebody say that. Like if I hear an older person or like my grandma or something says something that's like an older phrase, I'd be like, I like that. That's going in a song. You know what I mean? It's like it resonates with people.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So
the fact that it creates, and I think we can all kind of agree on this is, as original artists and someone who covers a lot of original artists as well as cover artists in the area, and this is not a knock to anybody who does covers because we all do
we
them.
do them.
We do them. But this area of the region seems to be really, really infatuated with nostalgia. Infatuated with nostalgia.
Absolutely.
And like tribute bands and like that, like it's like the biggest bands that everybody knows around here, like bands that are doing these tributes and things like that. And those are great. And I think it's wonderful and it's its own art form. It really is. But how do you tap into that mindset as a songwriter into the nostalgia aspect? And you have to come up with lines, like you're saying, that will help give that nostalgia aspect to everybody and say, oh, well, he's got this song about, Werther's candy that reminds me of my grandma. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's like the kind of thing. Or Jordan was talking about that last week, that he would drive around with his grandpa in this old red Ford truck from the 70s,
Right.
And he said anytime he thinks of a red truck, he thinks of his grandfather.
Right.
How do you relay that into a song?
Right.
And I think that's something that's you're really touching on that really well today.
Yeah, thanks. And I mean, it goes back to also, Bruce Springsteen. I think he's great. I've never really gotten deep into him like I am like with Dave Matthews and stuff. But I think he's great. So I follow him and all that stuff. And he was a big guy when he was younger, talking about Jersey and the boardwalk. And then you have Petty always talks about 441 in Florida. That's why I was like, all right, well then why can't I write a song about Shoe Corner, Wells Street Beach? I got another one that I haven't released yet, but it's about Northwest Indiana. But I just figured, I'm like, okay, well, even if I just can appeal to our local folklore on Shoe Corner or something, that would still be cool. And it ended up a year later, it's in the paper. Then a year after that, it's on WGN. So it's cool. Now I'm the Shoe Corner guy, which is still cool. You know what I mean? That's super cool, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
So what type of nostalgia did you touch on with Monkey Call?
I don't know. That's a hard one to.
How do we say that?
I think it relates to everybody. Just say sweet, sweet loving.
Monkey Call is about love making.
Yeah. It's about attraction.
Yeah.
Attraction.
It's how you see somebody, beautiful person, and you're obviously attracted to them, and I guess I went primal on that. But the funny thing about that is, like, how can I say there's something in my mind that's like making it go, making it work in terms of like, oh man, I just can't stop thinking about you. And so for Monkey Call, I think I mentioned this to you.
It was me, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But my thing was like, all right, well, how can I say that my mind's just going over and over and over about, a beautiful person? Or the attraction. And at first it was like the hamster wheel. This was before I even came up with Monkey Call. This is before the bridge where it's ooh ah. That was after I came up with I'm gonna use monkey. But yeah, I'm like, the hamster wheel in my mind is running right through. I'm like, that doesn't sound good. Who's gonna listen to that song?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I'm like, how can I get more like just that attraction? I'm like, oh, monkey. Ooh. Yeah. Just want to get it.
So now before we get too far down that rabbit hole, where
that monkey hole.
Yeah, that monkey hole. What's the next one you had?
This next one's going to be called Let's Dance.
Where did that come from? What's the inspiration?
This is a story song. This is about, it's actually a cool memory I have. I don't know why I remember it, but for some reason I do. when you're in middle school or when you're younger and you can't drive, the summer fests are the place to be with your friends and your group of friends. Well, I think this was either sixth grade or seventh grade. I think it was seventh grade going into eighth grade. It is, because I'll tell you why. I know that. It was seventh grade going into eighth grade, so that's summer. For me, we were running around, groups of my groups of friends, getting together with groups of girls that we knew from school, stuff like that. Well, there was a good-looking girl in school that was one of the ones that, like, oh yeah, she's a beautiful girl. Well, talked to her a little bit in school, but for some reason our groups just hooked up that day, and we were all going around the ride, stuff like that. Had a great time, and it ended up raining that day, so. It was back in the day where you would always double up on your T-shirts. I'd had an Abercrombie shirt on with a white shirt on under it. Doubling up. You got to have the layering. You got to layer. So,
before we go on, this is a very important question, Frank. Were you wearing the little seashell choker necklace thing?
I actually probably was. I used to have a ton of those.
Continue.
I used to have a ton of those. But no, it rained later on that day, and it was. She was wearing a tank top. I remember that, because it was summertime. So I let her use my shirt because she was cold. I remember that, so that you'll hear something like about that in the song. And then just the lights of the fest because the rain ended up stopping, and it was a beautiful summer night. And so as you can kind of see at that point in seventh grade, I developed a crush on her. Well, she was in eighth grade. She ended up going to high school, obviously, that following year. So I didn't see her. Literally, it was like a one and done. I had a crush on her that day. Never saw her again. I saw her a little bit in high school. We really didn't talk ever, and I haven't seen her since. I actually, you know what? I take that back. I think I ran into her one time over the years, but it was just like for some reason it was such a great middle school story of groups of friends getting together, having a great time. It's like, oh, she's so cute. I just would love to give her a kiss, you know what I mean? And it's all, part of the song, what I'm getting at, so I'm giving these parts of the lines. But yeah, it's just for some reason, it's not even so much about that I love this song so much. It's not even about really just like a crush, you know what I mean? Because we all get crushes. It's just that memory of that specific way of how my life used to be as a teen. We'd all, the baseball team, we'd play a game early. We'd all meet at the fest. We'd have a good time. It's just, get chills. Actually, I'm getting chills just thinking about it because I love summer and I loved that time.
You mean you're not enjoying the pandemic during the winter right now?
No.
Oh, okay. That's kind of bizarre. A really important question I wanted to know about that story is: did she ever give you your shirt back?
Oh, good point.
I want to say I think she did because that was one of my favorite shirts.
I was hoping.
Actually, no, she did because I never saw her again.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. So now you got to write a song.
I take that back. She did because when she got picked up by her parent or whoever it was, she took it off, and gave it back to me. Because I still had that.
I was hoping that there might be a song in that.
He had it. He has it framed in his room somewhere.
No, actually, it was my favorite shirt. I probably could still fit into it because I haven't grown at all.
Oh yeah, we won't even talk about that.
I'd still wear it if I could. So.
I don't even think my head would fit through some of my middle school shirts.
Well, we've all been there with the fests and the summer nostalgia and everything. Well, why don't we hear you've set it up perfectly. Now I want to hear it.
Watch now, blow it.
No pressure.
That's why we can do a second take of it.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it. All right. So just kind of the way that this whole song goes, it just kind of feels like a carnival in a way to me. I don't know. So you'll see. So here we go. This is Let's Dance. No, not by David Bowie.
Remember the summer day when the music played on. As the day went on, we danced in the rain. I won't forget the faces you made you pulled me close and said, baby, come on, yeah, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, oh, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, oh, yeah. How the rain splashed off your pretty skin. I remember how your shirt was so thin. And then I kept on thinking how I just wanted one kiss. But you said, baby, dance like this. Come on, let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Oh, let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Oh, and oh, how I'd wonder if you'd be mine. And girl, let me know if that's alright. 'Cause I just want you for more than one night. And we can dance till the end of time. Come on, let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Yeah, let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Let's dance. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 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 oh. Yeah, 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 oh. How the music came to an end. That didn't stop such a pretty night we had. When you saw my worry sinking, you said, baby, it's alright, come on, just dance to what's inside. Come on, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, oh, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, oh, yeah.
As you can see, that evening had a profound impact on me.
I'm sitting here and all I've got is the fair as a teenage kid running through
Can
my
you
head.
feel it?
Yeah, I could
Good.
actually.
That's what it's all
I was
about.
getting the Indiana Beach vibes.
I could see
Yeah.
that absolutely.
The corn dogs,
Yep.
cotton candy, all the things I can't eat anymore.
Yeah.
Well, if this can lead to maybe a sponsorship, that was actually at the Dyer Freedom Fest. Dyer Freedom Fest. If you guys would like to use that song.
Dyer Freedom Fest.
Call me.
Speaking of festivals, you know what? That was all three of our tunes for the day. But
Yeah.
I want to say thank you so much. What are some plans that you have for the future? Maybe for the summer or,
Man, you know,
or
I
2021?
Yeah, I really hope we're able to play more this summer because it's great playing inside, but it's also even better to get outside and play the fests and all that stuff. So I hope we get to do that. My goals are to just try to keep pumping out originals because the last couple years, luckily we did the EP last year, but the year before that, I don't know, there was a year in there where I didn't really put much out. I think it was 2019. So that upset me a little bit. And like you, I have so many just sitting. I just got to start blocking out some time and really getting them pumped out. But I have a few that I've been working on. And yeah, I mean, hopefully we get some good shows and, travel a little bit maybe. I know that as of right now, the Bodaroo Fest, and that's a good shout to Ryan who runs the whole thing. They do a great job. It's up in Alpena, Michigan, and Monday night played there 2 years ago. We were supposed to play last year. It got canceled. He's already got it scheduled for this year to happen. But that's obviously pending the sponsors and all that stuff. So I hope it happens. It's an awesome time up there. So that's one of the things I'm definitely looking forward to.
Absolutely.
Is Region Stock have plans for this year? Or no?
Nothing that I can say yet, but way to kind of bring that out of the bag.
We'll cut that.
I will. No, I will tell you. Be looking out.
Cool.
We're working on it. It's the same thing as he's saying. It's trying to find the right sponsors to make it work. We do have a venue that is interested this year, a whole lot closer than it was 2 years ago. But yeah,
Great.
We've got something in the works here, hopefully.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much to both of you for being a part of the show today, and
Absolutely.
And hopefully we can continue these Freakin' Friday musics, and we'll see who our next guest is going to be next week. We still got some people to kind of balance out the schedule. Again, everybody, please wear your masks, social distance, stay safe. We'll see you again, and anybody that needs any kind of bookings, contact